Okay, so I've had a chance to watch the documentary on Netflix that was called Abducted in Plain Sight. And if you haven't seen it, I suggest you do so because, oh my God, the whole thing is just crazy. Also, if you haven't seen it, there's spoiler alerts all through this video, so just be prepared to have your mouth toe out because this is the craziest thing I've ever seen on TV in my life. And literally, very few things floor me, so let's get into it. Okay, first of all, this documentary reminded me, it was so strange that it reminded me of the movie I saw called The Strange Thing About the Johnsons. I think that was the name of it. But The Strange Thing About the Johnsons had me on the floor dead DOA. It was so weird and crazy and just outlandish that I was too through. So the thing about this documentary is it is weird and outlandish and crazy, but true. Like these people are sitting here telling you about all the outlandish stuff that went on in the 70s until I think 2005 when the guy that I'm going to talk about, Robert Berchtold, killed himself. So just be prepared. If you watch it, you will be DOA on the floor, knocked out, because it's crazy. First and foremost, I don't know what kind of slick bastard you got to be to get away with laying pipe throughout a whole family, but let me tell you, Robert E. Berchtold was that person. I don't know what kind of sexual predator level he was at, but he was like the master. If this was Mortal Kombat, he would be like, finish him, like he got away with so much. And I can't even fault him because the parents in this documentary, they were so naive, it was off the chain. They were so wholesome that they put their children in harm's way. And I'm going to get to them in a minute because they had some liability in this as well. I don't know I don't know any families like that would let their children just be game for a sexual predator. But when you watch the documentary and you see that this man has been busting through the whole family, and when I say the whole family, I mean the whole family, you're going to have your mouth toe out in shock and amazement. This is crazy. So Robert Berchtold was a family friend of the Brobergs out in Utah, and at some point he took an interest in their daughter Jan, became real fixated on her, and so the parents let it go on and on and on, not thinking that dude's a real sexual predator, and so they ended up, long story short, Berchtold ended up kidnapping their daughter Jan, not once, but twice. Twice. And so they sat there and let it happen. That ain't the tripping part about it, though. It gets stranger. Mama ended up sleeping with the sexual predator, having an affair with him for 11 months. The daddy ended up giving the man a hand job in the car on some really weird shit. And then, of course, Jan them fell in love with him and want to marry him. They went to Mexico and got married when she was 12. Okay? And the really freaky part about it was, and why I'm so mad at these parents, is Robert Berchtold came to them because they, at some point, they figured, let's just get a little sideways here with this dude. Like, we gonna have to distance ourselves from him. He came to them and said, hey, I went to get counseling, and the counselor told me what's wrong with me. So as part of my therapy, I'm asking you, ask the father now. He went to the father and asked him, is it okay if I lay with Jan in her room alone for a couple of nights? This man ended up sleeping in the same bed with this 11-year-old girl for 6 months, 4 to 5 nights a week. Yeah. And what really gets me is his brother got on TV in a documentary and said, "Yeah, I always knew Bob liked little girls. He used to have sex with our sister." So you knew? Y'all just gonna let this man just pile through girls like this left and right and never be brought to justice? That's insane to me. The parents, Bob and Karen Broberg, I think her name was. Y'all, I don't even know any dope fiends or crackheads, but I would venture to guess that a crackhead would protect their family better than they did. There is no amount of naivete in the world and wholesomeness in the world that would let me willingly accept this sexual predator into my home repeatedly, have a sexual affair with him, as a heterosexual man give a hand job to him. Like, they were all entangled up in this cluster madness of stupid shit that I could not even put into words. All I told my friends was, you gotta watch this shit. Like, you will be on the floor dead, right? So I fought the parents, because when Robert came to the dad and said, hey, part of my therapy, this dude said, well, I mean, I don't feel comfortable about it, but, your therapy, it is your therapy. And it's not enough therapy in the world that's going to take care of that. And I don't care what kind of therapist you got that told you to do that shit, you won't get cured today. Not in the bedroom of my child. Y'all out the box. So they went ahead and did it. The first time Jane got kidnapped, Robert came to the mother and said, hey, I want to take Jane horseback riding. And the mom was like, I don't know. It's a school night and she has piano and da-da-da-da-da. And of course the child was like, oh, Mom, can I please go, Mom, please? So she buckles and she says, as long as you're back when your dad gets home and you have school tomorrow. And Robert was like, hey, I'll pick her up from piano. We'll just go straight to the stables. Baby, when I tell you, Robert picked up Jan, sipped her a Mickey, and she was knocked out cold. Next thing you know, Jan done woke up in a motorhome listening to a speaker box that was next to her pillow with what she thought was aliens telling her to go have sex with this grown-ass man in the motorhome. Not to mention her arms and legs were strapped down. Not to mention he kept her for like 30, 40 days. And then gonna have the nerve to call the parents and say, hey, we got married in Mexico. And we ain't coming home until you give me permission to marry your daughter in the States. The parents said, well, I want her home and anything to get her home. First of all, when I find you, I'm going to beat the brakes off you. And I'm going to beat the brakes off my child as well. None doing, homie. You know. So that was kidnapping number one. Kidnapping number two was because Jan, now she's like 12 and all in love with this 40-year-old man. She decides to run off and not tell nobody where she at. She ended up laid up in a motorhome in some other state with Robert Berchtold again for months. So the whole documentary is just weird as hell. And oh my God, I've never known people to be this naive in my whole life. If that was my kid, you would have to find him in pieces in the Mississippi River. Period. Dot blank. Never before have I seen, I mean, we all know sexual predators exist, but never in my life have I seen a sexual predator be so manipulative and slick and cunning to run pipe through the daughter, the mama, and get the daddy to give you a hand job. I'm sorry. Homosexual, heterosexual, regardless. Any man that come at my child like that, I'm not giving you no handy. I'm not sleeping with you. I'm going to try my best to kill you. So it was hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that this family let this go on for years. And then he never got caught because, and Robert Berchtold was a slick bastard because his wife went to the Broberg home and said, hey, let me talk to you for a minute in another room, and told the daddy, drop the charges against my husband, or we will go public with the fact that you're homosexual and you're complicit in letting your daughter be with my husband and giving him free reign over your daughters in your house. So this, instead of saying checkmate bitch, the daddy goes, well, let's sign affidavit saying that he really didn't kidnap Jan and that she didn't go against her will. She went voluntarily to Mexico and we're not pressing any charges. As a former prosecutor, I was pissed as a prosecutor on a documentary. He was like, we're going to prosecute. Regardless of your affidavit, y'all sitting there playing too much. I don't care if you gave him a hand job, blow job, back alley, screw session. We prosecuting him because he's a child predator. Long story short, Robert Berchtold never got the full arm of the justice system on that aspect. It wasn't until 2005 that this man got arrested because he ran over a biker gang that was protecting Jan, who's now grown, when she was at speaking engagements. And so he ran over somebody in the biker gang and they finally pressed charges for assault and attempted battery with the vehicle or something like that. And so the judge, even then, was only going to give him like 45 days. I think it was like 45 days or something like that, something stupidly low. And he was like, I'm not going to jail. Even if it's a day, it's going to kill me. This coward went and took all his heart medication, drank some Kahlua, and died. Committed suicide. Y'all, this shit is the stuff of nightmares. Academy Award winning motion pictures, Jerry Springer, Maury Povich. Like, it's all the trash TV you could ever want in one sitting. And it's true, based on real events, y'all, real events. I couldn't make it up if I had like unlimited amount of time, a script, and a lot of liquor. Like I couldn't even. I would have to be high to make this up. It's just that crazy. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. Not safe for kids. Damn sure not safe for work. I don't know why you'd be watching this at work, but go. Get your mouth toe out. Go get your mouth toe out. Because it was, ooh, Lord, crazy.
Come on, mommy. You know what it is. Come on.